Hey everyone, Night Haro here. Welcome to part 2 of how to make your own trash setup, okay? So in the first build video, we talked about some various sets that are pretty good. In this one, I just want to go over how to do your own trash setup, okay? I'm not going to talk too much about specific sets. I did that in the first video. And part of the idea is that you can go find your own and figure out something else that works for you. So whenever you're deciding on making a trash build, the first thing I would do is you want to pick 2 5-piece sets, and one of them should be a trial set. In most situations, I'll tell you the one exception, but most of them should be a trial set. So you pick that, and the reason for that is because the 3-piece bonus gives you 5% extra damage in trials, arenas, and dungeons, and that's a big enough damage boost that you generally want to run. If you can find a good trial set, you'll want to run it over a good non-trial set. Now, we already talked about running something like Plague Break or Azure Blight. Those are really good on a Templar and on a Necro. You can run them on other classes, but they're not as good. And also, I'm just realizing, I don't know if I mentioned this, only one person in a group can run each one of those sets because they'll tend to overlap. And depending on how many mobs you have, maybe 2 people can run one of them. But in general, only one person in a given group can run that. So anyways, I'm sorry. That's enough about sets. So 1 trial set, 1 non-trial set. And then if you can, try to single bar as much things as you can. So what you would do is if you can single bar it, you could front bar one, back bar the other. That works totally fine. And then after that, pick a monster set that works well for you. Something like Storm Fist is really good right now, but any kind of AoE monster set that you want to run, pick that, put that on. And then after that, you fill it in with either Arena or Mythic. And Mythics, good Mythics, as I mentioned in the last video, we're talking Sea Serpent's Coil, Kilt can be fine. There's going to be some new sets coming out that'll probably also be very good with update 38. You could run, I have ran, and this is one of the situations where it's kind of an exception, which is the Marken Ring of Majesty. And it gives you more weapon and spell power based on how many 3-piece bonuses you have. So in that case, I would run, 3 pieces of multiple different sets, and I would front bar, back bar the other, and then run that Mythic. And that was pretty much it. I think after that, you kind of run out of room. Maybe you have like 1 or 2 pieces left. But anyways, so that's something you could do. Also, Mora's Whisper, I'm sorry, is also a good Mythic to wear. And then, you just put that on and see what that's like. But we're just kind of like theory crafting here, okay? So you got your 2 5-piece sets, you figured out which ones you can front bar, back bar, and then you picked a Mythic and you picked a monster set. Now, you can also start to look at what kind of arena weapons can you run. So Black Rose Prison daggers can be very good in trash, and you would typically front bar those so it's active. And then back bar, you could run Maelstrom Arena. Typically, the 2-hander isn't doing as well right now, similarly with a bow. But so you might want to back bar something like Burning Spellweave. You could front bar the daggers. But you just kind of look at that, and basically it's an iterative process. And I'm sorry, let me give you the steps in order. And this is an iterative process, right? So you start at the top, you go through, and then if you decide you want to change something, you change it, and you can just go back at the top and go back through. So 1 trial set, and then choose a second set. So you got 2 5-piece sets. Choose a weapon, whatever you want to use. So if you want bow, if you want daggers, if you want staff, and then choose which one you want front and back. And again, it's iterative process, so this could change. Pick what you think you want, and then and that's going to be step 2. Step 3, equip the set you want in the most compact fashion possible. So if you have a set that you can front bar or back bar, go ahead and do so. That's going to be the best thing you can do, typically. And then step 4 is you pick our monster set, and then 5 is pick a Mythic if we have room for it. And then step 6 is consider arena sets and maybe swapping something out. Maybe you want to drop your monster set and instead run an arena set. Maybe you want to drop your Mythic and run an arena set and just kind of play with it there. Okay, and then just rinse and repeat. Try it out, see how it goes, and then just go back through the process. I'll go through the end how to best test on the dummies. And then for skills here, you want to go with all AoE skills, okay? That's the main thing. Make sure all of your skills, all the ones you can, are AoE skills. Slot as many precastable abilities as possible, okay? Not more than 2 dots do you want to be casting once the pull starts. mostly you're using an AoE spamble, not more than 2, and even then, the fewer the better. Okay, so as I mentioned, channel on back bar, channeled acceleration is a great thing. Usually, you want to run that just because you can cast it before the pull. It'll last for the entire pull and gives you that extra critical damage. Something like Wall of Elements or your volley of arrows or whatever it's called. I feel like that's like an unmorphed version or something. Or your charge, basically your standard ability for your weapon that you would run on your back bar that you would use to proc an infused weapon and spell damage enchant. So Wall of Elements is great on a Magicka user, and you could run like Maelstrom back bar or something, but you get the idea. And then a great, kind of class of skills, Proxy Detonation, Proxy Det as it's typically referred to. That's a great one that you can run also on your back bar, and then fill in the rest with class skills that you can pre-cast. You don't have to cast once you're actually in combat. And I just realized I left this up. There we go. Get the branding going on. All right. So next up there, that's your back bar. Fill everything else out with precastable abilities, whatever you have on your class. Look at skills you typically might use, and I think you'll find some that will work well. For front bar, you're going to pick an AoE spammable, whatever you want. Whirling Blades is a great one. You could also do something like Pulsar or Acid Spray. Any kind of AoE spammable that you want to use. Those are weapon ones. You could also have some class ones. Again, if you have other skills you can precast and you don't have room on your back bar, you can put them on your front bar, and then you'll have extra spaces on your front bar, and you just want to fill that up with Fighters Guild skills, okay? And that's just what you do. And then on your back bar, you could run something like a Destro ult. The Mage's Guild ultimate is really good. You want to use typically an ultimate that is more expensive because it'll do more damage, and that's what you're going for, maximum damage. And then on the front bar, you can still run like Dawnbreaker just for the passives. And that's it. That's as far as your skills. That's how you do it. I will note that executes with a spambles with an execute are better to run. So Whirling Blade has a really, really great execute. And what I mean by execute is once the target gets to low health, it'll do extra damage. So those are always great things to run. After that, you want to practice with no more than 5 dummies. I typically choose about 3. And then what you want to do is precast everything, pre-buff, and then run in, drop your ultimate if that's what you plan on doing every single time. And then once you get into combat, I typically try to go for about 10 seconds. So I count 10 casts of abilities. That'll be 10 seconds or global cooldowns. And, that's it. After that, you can hit F5. That'll kill the dummies and you can get your DPS. I often take a look at CMX to see, kind of what the curve looks like and everything and see what my max DPS was. But that'll give you an idea of how to do your own trash build. So hopefully that's helpful. If you have any questions or if I missed anything, please let me know in the comments down below and I'll be glad to help.